Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Wu Chu Chronicles. I'm Wu Chu, and every episode from here until I don't know when, we're going to bring guests that are performing on Stress Fest in either Pueblo, Colorado at the Grind Haus Cafe or at Stress Fest in Daytona Beach at the Trinidad Irish Pub. And this next guest of mine has been performing on Stress Fest for a couple of years now. So coming to the stage is none other than Carlos from the Dead End and Last Real Hero. Hey Carlos, how are you, dude?
Hey, what's going on, Wu Manchu?
Just hanging in there. Looking forward to the Stress Fest coming up in July. Are you excited?
I am stoked. I am so stoked I'm wearing my shirt today.
Awesome. I
What
love it. I
what,
love it.
what of many?
Indeed. I can't believe how many years we've got this together and celebrate like a big old family. I call it family because
I
I
like
learned that
that.
term from the band that I once managed called the Widowhood Effect. They taught me that term. So
I dig it. And yeah, we're a big band family, so that makes complete sense.
absolutely, indeed. So tell me how you got into music from the get go.
That's a good question. My dad's actually a musician, so is my uncle. So they still actively play in a band together. I grew up, going to gigs and helping my dad load in and seeing them practice and them playing at high school dances and whatnot. So I'm pretty sure that had a heavy influence. And then I don't know, about like 10, 11, I think I got like Nine Inch Nails, Pretty Hate Machine. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to do this.
Absolutely, I that's Nine Inch Nails is one band I have yet to see live. They backed out one year, and I'm like at Rockville, and it was like them and Soundgarden, and they couldn't make it. I was like, ah, dang it.
Bummer, that would have been a good one too.
Absolutely, and I pretty much seen almost a lot of bands under the sun, and I'm like, good lord, one day.
One of, one of many, but they're still around at least.
Oh yeah, absolutely, good stuff. And it's pretty cool that you were a roadie for your dad and all that good stuff, and when you were young, and so
Definitely, being a musician's a hard lifestyle, and my dad was very passionate about playing music and being a musician, and it definitely rubbed off on me. But yeah, he supports me as much as I ever supported him, so it's awesome.
heck
It's a
yeah.
good way to bond.
What was the name of your dad's bands?
The Still City Band. They're pretty big here in Pueblo. They were also called Abraxas before that, but the Abraxas days was like the 60s into the 70s, and then Still City Band from like the mid 70s on or whatever.
Wow, good stuff. And the Steel City Band. Are they, what kind of music do you play? Do they play mostly?
Oh, they're like funk and soul. I mean, they have some originals that came out, on vinyl back in the 70s or early 80s or whatever, but they play like Earth, Wind, and Fire and Al Green and, that kind of stuff. The music that gets people dancing and moving, not the way we get people dancing and moving anyway.
That's for sure. I love seeing the whenever like the Dead End performs there. It's like man, it's pretty cool. Like with you and Lewis on the bass, and he's holding it up, and you're yeah, like playing your guitar on there, and it's just that's the part I look forward to the most every single time.
I think everybody does. It's our gimmick, of course. It's like you could play the most complicated thing on that bass and no one cares. And then you go stand on it, and oh my god, everyone loves it. I actually fell off it at the Black Sheep a couple months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it was great because statistically, how many times I've done it, it should have happened sooner. It sucked that it was in front of a big crowd, and then with one of my favorite bands, Two of the Coughing Cats. But
Oh.
it was great. I fell, I hit the ground, and everyone cheered. So I guess that's successful.
Uh, One day it'll be viral, but until then, there's like it's always those bad things that happen are like always like the good memories for some reason.
Oh, totally. It was an amazing night, and the best part is I exploited myself. I did post it on our Instagram like not even a week ago.
Indeed. Good stuff. And what was the first band that you started off in
Oh
performing?
shit. So we didn't have a name, but when I was probably in, we'll say, sixth or seventh grade, me and my buddy Romar Pena, who I grew up with, and our buddy, Jordan. I barely remember that kid's name, but our buddy Jordan. We played a. Oh no, I lied. It was my buddy Ken Espinoza. Ken Espinoza and Robert Pena, who were some of the kids I grew up with in middle school and high school. That we just had a great connection and same interest in music. And we used to skateboard and listen to like Offspring when we were like 10, 11, and like 311, and we thought we were so cool. But it was like our sixth or seventh grade year, and we played the talent show. We played a Green Day song, and we didn't win the talent show. The guys who won the talent show actually lip sync, and that kind of motivated me to become a better musician because I was like, wow, how can someone who's actually put their heart and soul into something lose to someone who's just going to jump around and pretend? But that was the first little band, and we never had a name for it. Me and my buddy Romar ended up being in a few other bands. One called Only on Wednesdays. That was probably around my ninth, 10th grade year. And then it became Rapture at Dawn when I was about like 16, 17. So it was kind of like the same band and just evolved. And everyone who was like friends and buddies all became part of that band or left the band and other buddies came in or whatever. But it had a few name changes, a few lineup changes, but pretty much the same band. And I mean, we were most recognized for the Rapture at Dawn. And then, of course, LJ Lewis was in Rapture at Dawn, and now we're the Dead End. So it's still an evolution of the same band, just going, as the years roll.
Wow, that's awesome stuff. And your previous two bands were before my time, and when you said that you lost to a band that was lip syncing, it reminded me of Milli Vanilli.
Yes, girl, it's true. Totally.
Absolutely. And I just watched. I'm not sure if you follow pro wrestling at all, but I was watching the Vampiro documentary.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Those were the good days. So I do know about that stuff.
Yeah, and like he's like in the documentary, he said his dreadlocks idea was from the time he was with managing Milli Vanilli.
I didn't, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Heck yeah, it was awesome, and he's like one of my favorites, and from like I followed him from like WCW to Lucha Underground and all that good stuff. So.
That's cool. Yeah, that's kind of funny too, because back during some of my first bands, we had a trampoline out back, and we were all into that stuff. So we would go wrestle. We'd go do all these like complicated wrestling moves, and thought we'd maybe be wrestlers one day and not, musicians or whatever. I
Awesome.
got Lewis threw me off the trampoline when we were like 14. Like not even joking. Like band
Dang.
practice, I think he went to like power bombing or something. Just right off, and I think we kind of slowed down on wrestling after that.
Awesome, man. That's good stuff. You and Lewis go way back, or also known as LJ. That's pretty awesome that you kept in touch and formed a band together and all that
Oh,
stuff. And
totally. We're actually like third cousins, but the way we grew up, he's my brother. We're that close. So we've done a
absolutely,
lot of stuff together, especially musically.
and he's one heck of an artist too, like drawing wise with all his comic book characters and stuff.
Oh hell yeah, that guy's a hell of an artist. I wish he'd do more for our project.
Indeed, nudge him, get him like a dead end mascot or X-Men character. That'd be pretty rad.
That would be cool. Well, a dead end comic book. Shit.
Yeah, I'd buy
We're
it.
the typical superhero. We're our regular selves. I'm a manager at the plasma center during the day, and then at night we're like these comic book rock stars.
Heck yeah, that'd be gnarly. Let me know when it happens. I'll pick one up and all that jazz.
Oh, as soon as I'll mail you one for sure.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, I was thinking about getting my own comic book. I drew one actually. It's a design, and they taught you how to fold it and everything. And then once after you fold it, you just need scissors. You just draw on it, and like you can color in it and all that good stuff. I'll have to teach you how to
Oh,
do the method. It's pretty
that's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a 6 page after everything's all folded and done, and it's like one of those tabloid type like flyer sheets. So
That's cool.
yeah,
You
absolutely,
know, DIY or
absolutely.
DIY. However, I'm dyslexic.
Indeed. DIY is the way to go. That's how like the Fast Star was DIY and but yeah, I'm like pretty stoked that you were inspired by like 311 and played a Green Day song and The Offspring and Yeah, some of
Yeah.
those bands you got to see live. Did you get to see any of those bands live too, or?
Geez, not 311. No, like No Effects and The Offspring, those bands. Like I was able to see, some of those shows, the early 2000s, like Warp Tour and stuff. So that's actually how I got into like psychobilly. I went to Warp Tour like '03 or '04. I saw the Reverend Horn Heat and I believe Tiger Army, and it was just like, holy shit, this is like punk rock aggressive shit, but it's still like old school and like I don't know. Never knew like those genres really existed, so I fell into that.
Awesome.
But yeah. It's like, yeah, you're young and you want to go to as many shows as possible. And it was the early 2000s, so you didn't have the internet or anything, so you had to go to shows to find out about more bands or go, to record stores and look for whatever is cool. And then if they come around, you go check them out to see if they were cool or whatever. So I got to see some bands. No Effects was like one of the first bands I saw. I don't know. I've seen a lot of bands. I was really into a lot of metal there for a long time too. So like I brought up some of those bands like Offspring or whatever, but for a long time there, I was into like Ministry and Marilyn Manson and Skinny Puppy, and this is like middle school. This is pre me even like really playing music. Like some of my first like foundation of music was like this industrial goth stuff. I got into the Murder Dolls. I was really into Slipknot. Uh, Geez, and then I was actually a victim of new metal too. I liked like Mudvayne and Slipknot were cool or whatever, but then like yeah, Static X is still cool. I'm trying to think of some some cringy ass like new metal bands, but I guess in my book they're all badass still. Disturbed. We like Disturbed. That was our freshman year. I'm just yapping your ear off now, but our
Oh, you
freshman year, we'd go to LJ's house, my auntie's house. She'd let us drink because she's like, you guys are gonna do it anyway, so just do it here. And we would drink Smirnoff Ice and get like plastered off like two Smirnoff Ices or whatever. But we'd always throw on Disturbed, The Sickness. That was the CD we would listen to, to like get going or whatever. And then as the night progressed, we were all into Pantera and Metallica, of course. I mean, LJ and myself wouldn't be playing guitar if it wasn't for listening to and imitating, Metallica songs and Iron Maiden songs and all that stuff. So I mean, there's a lot of influences, and I've got to see a lot of those bands that I've mentioned right now because I've loved music so much. Still haven't seen Ministry. Got to see Static X before Wayne Static died, so that was cool. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm a music dork when it comes to things. I collect records and stuff, so it's like you'll go through and you'll find like all my 50s and 60s shit that I'm into, and then you'll pull out some like Nine Inch Nails or something. It's just something that's not part of that genre, but I soak it all in. If I listen to it and I like it, I'm gonna pimp it.
absolutely, indeed, awesome. That's I got to see No FX live once, and it was at the Mayan Theater in Los Angeles, and they were
Oh,
playing Rib
dude.
in its entirety, and it was like I had to either choose them or Public Enemy that night to go cover, and like there was so many people there was like a conveyor belt of bodies with like crowd surfing every single time, and like it was just gnarly and good stuff. And like the new metal bands, like Linkin Park was like my gateway drug to like heavier music because I was growing up on hip hop pretty much until that point.
I got you.
And when like Mike Shinoda was rapping and everything, and like Chester was screaming, and it was like. And there's like different styles of music and hybrid theory. I was like, all right, that's my gateway drug to try everything else. And that was it. And Ministry puts on great shows. Shout out to Uncle Al out there. It's good stuff.
Hell yeah, dude.
Hell yeah, good stuff. And man, I'm starting a new. When you mentioned Metallica, they were my second concert ever.
Really? What
Yep,
what tour was that?
Summer Sanitarium, I think 2003.
Summer Sanitarium. We used to go to those Summer Sanitarium tours every time they'd come around.
Heck
We saw
yeah,
so many cool bands there. Geez, I think like I was all into Corn, victim
uh-huh.
of new metal. So it was like, yeah, like Corn, Limp Bizkit, and fucking Metallica. Like fuck yeah, like yeah, those were good times, simple times.
Absolutely. The lineup that I saw was at Mile in Zasca Mile High was Deftones, Linkin Park, Mudvayne,
Oh, dude.
Limp Bizkit, Metallica, and it was just like awesome.
Deftones was in Denver last night. I didn't get to go, but
Oh man,
Yeah, Around the Fur was like my favorite album.
indeed. They put on one hell of a show. That was like my 1 year anniversary, my 100th show, and I was like my 15th journal or fifth journal or something like that that I wanted to do. And I reached out to all the record labels and the publicists and everything because I was like, I want this as my 100th article. And like Scars on Broadway opened up for them, and members of them are in System of a Down, and it's just like,
Yeah, yeah.
good stuff.
Hell yeah, dude. You got to cover that one, so that's fucking badass.
Hell yeah, dude. I still got pictures, I think. I found
Yeah,
my like big old external hard drive of like most of my concerts I covered in LA, and I'm like,
score.
heck yeah, dude, that is like a relic. I'm like, this is so gnarly. Hopefully, I'll reach out to publicists and see if I can print them out or something. But good times,
That'd be
indeed.
cool. I look forward to seeing them once they're out, if you get them out.
I hope so too. They got rid of all my articles because of a fallout, but I'm glad I still have those memories.
Dude, memories are a good thing to have and experience. So go create as many memories as possible. And if you're into music, yeah, you got to go see as many shows and as many bands as possible because they don't stick around. I got to see System of a Down twice, and those guys don't play shows anymore. They have such a huge following, and for what I understand, they don't even want to like write another album. Like Surge isn't into what they're doing or whatever, but it's like, yeah, so more the reason to go see live bands when you can, or a pandemic might happen, and then you don't see anything or you're out of work for, a year or two or whatever. So carpe diem, just memories are everything. And I think that's why I connect with you and so many people in the scene. It's like, we're all music people. We all have that same passion. And it's like I said, I'm a music dork. So the minute I start talking about something I'm passionate about, I'm not going to shut up.
Absolutely. And even though I don't play any instruments, I still love to be a band ambassador for Pueblo, and like get the whole family together and party like as much as I can and rock out for like 4 days, and that's like the only
Yeah,
time I go to
definitely.
festivals nowadays. It's just my two festivals.
That's cool though, and that's badass to say. You're like, yeah, I go to festivals, my festivals.
Yeah, good stuff. And I'm glad it's going on for like 9 years this year. Could you believe it?
Is it the ninth? I was going to ask you how long, because I know it's been a minute, and the years fly by so quick. But yeah, I believe that 9 years. That's awesome.
Yeah. And
And
second
it's
year in Daytona Beach. So if you ever go on tour, hit me up and I'll put you on the stage.
oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. We'll try to route your tour and everything. So
Yeah, I'm trying to work on some stuff, so I'll definitely get a hold of you soon because it'd be great to see you. Not in a bad way, but not in Pueblo. Go
yeah,
out and see you actually instead of you come seeing us. So.
indeed. But Pueblo's worth the trip though, I think.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah. It's home, and you have a lot of good contacts and family here and friends and stuff. So
absolutely, indeed. And so when you and Lewis and Pickle, y'all got together and formed the Dead End uh, and at first you had a name before the Dead Ends. It was called the Dead End Stompers. How come you took off the Stompers at the end?
so this is like a long story. So the whole dead end thing is like an evolution again of like all this stuff. So when I was in Rapture at Dawn, I wanted a psychobilly band like super bad, and I had some friends who were coming over and playing with me. Actually, the guys that are in Mythic Creation, those guys were hanging out. Justice and Tim are they were coming over, playing music and stuff, and I was set on us being the Dead End Creeps. And we did a few covers, but it just wasn't. We weren't proficient enough to try to play a new music like that, so it just wasn't panning out. Um, I was in this band called Dave Mansfield and the LAMFs. Dave Mansfield was in the band called the Mansfields. Well, after I quit that band, I didn't have any bands, and my buddy Jimmy kept asking me to start a band. He's like, "Hey, dude, let's start this band." I'm like, "No." I was like, at one point, even kind of in my head, just done with music, just because it was stressful. It's a stressful thing. I can handle the stress now, and I understand the in and out of playing music and trying to be successful or whatever. But back then, I was stressed out. It just was. I was a 20-year-old kid. It wasn't going down. Jimmy convinced me. Long story short, Jimmy convinced me to be in this band, and we tried to come up with some cool names, and we couldn't come up with a cool name at all. And I just started mixing stuff together, and I kept recycling old band names, and I had the Dead End, and he had like the Shit Stompers or something like ridiculous, and just put it together, and we all agreed on it. It was something that I didn't even think would last that long. I thought we'd just like jam a few shows and it might fizzle out or whatever. And at that time, it was Jimmy and this other gentleman we named or went by the name of Chico. I can't even think of his real name right now. We just used to call him Chico, but he played drums, and Chico decided to leave. Matt came in. I was recording our first demo. I was the only one that put money out for that, and Jimmy flaked out on us during the recording session. And I'm literally doing vocals, recording it, texting out. He's like, "Hey, do you want to be in a band again? Have you ever played bass?" And and I hit him up, and he said, "Yeah, let's do this." And then just kind of out of respect of the old members not being there, new members being in it, I just lost the Stompers. I was actually even going with the Creeps again for a while, and then it just ended up being the Dead End.
Awesome. One heck of a story. And I miss the Myth of Creation dudes like Tim and Rob and Justice and like
Yeah.
once they moved up north, it's like where did you guys go? I miss them and like I miss seeing them at the fest and everything and playing as well and getting the makeup on
Oh
and
yeah, they're fucking great at what they do, and I hope to see them do more in the future because, like you said, once they went up north, it seems like it kind of slowed down a little bit for them. But I I want to play a show with them. The last time I saw any of those guys, they actually came to one of our gigs up in Denver, and it was cool to reunite. We took a picture together and all that stuff. But I was asking them, I'm like, dude, yeah, let's like book something up here. Like, we have a pretty good in a couple places. So if
absolutely
you hear that Myth of Creation, if you hear that,
absolutely. And I believe from was it Chico Struck that was in your band?
yeah, Chico Struck.
Awesome. If I we go back and stuff like that, and he made it my other mask that's like more light than this, but
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Chico's a good guy. He has family and stuff going on, and I was trying to be a rock star. And then
Uh,
that's kind of like what happened with Jimmy as well. He was having his second kid and needed more hours at work, and we were getting all these great offers, but it just we couldn't do them. So
yeah, life gets in the way, and that's that's everyone's chapters in their books, and you never know it's planned out in the future. You just gotta go with it, and now that you're a three-piece band, it's like you guys have really great chemistry, and that's what I love
that's
about. Yep. So it's
that's the biggest thing is chemistry. Definitely, it's an intimate thing playing music. You know, I don't know. There's a lot of sacrifice and stuff that goes into music, and like I said, I'm such a dork that I obsess over it like daily. From the minute I wake up, I'm thinking about what I need to do for my band this day, or what I need to do musically, or whatever. So it's a hard lifestyle, and when you get with the right people that click, and you can work with, it's like being in a good relationship. You don't want to mess that up or whatever. And I'm grateful for the band members I have, not only in Dead End but Last Real Hero as well. Those guys all work their asses off. They're all musicians who have been in other bands before, and we all kind of know what the ropes are. So it's like it's nothing for us to get together. Even with we have a new drummer, Jim Chandler. He's up in Denver, so it's like we can't practice every week, or like the Dead End 2-3 times a week. So it's like we have shows and stuff coming up. It's like he'll come down once, and it's like we have to be rehearsing on our own time. So when we get there, it's like fire, and then we just go play these shows. And yeah, chemistry is everything, and just being with the right people. And like you said, everyone has their own chapters. The people that I'm with now, or maybe even my own story might change. It's nothing's forever, so you just got to enjoy what you have while you have it, and always keep rolling with things too. I won't ever let anything discourage me from not playing music, because I've had that phase in my life, but I realize this is the only thing that naturally comes. I believe in the art of flow, and in the art of flow, it's like, why fight against the current? If something's going right, you pimp it. You just roll with that shit. I don't know. I'm babbling again, but I guess
hey,
that's what this is all about, right?
absolutely. The more meat on the bones, the better.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, then that's how I live life too. Like go with the flow, don't fight the current. I love how you put it. It's fantastic.
Definitely, like one thing that's kind of been a consistent in my life is music, first of all. But there's been plenty of times in my life where I've had like some fucking awesome opportunities that I never worked for. Like they just like right there in my lap, and it's like, wow, what did I do to deserve this or whatever, and around my like mid to late 20s, that's when I started going, hey, you're trying to do this and you're trying to do that and you're trying to do this and it's not panning out, you're not a family man, that's not going down, and you're not a businessman, and the only thing that's ever naturally just plopped in my lap was these opportunities to play music. So it's like, hey, let's just take this fucking ball and fucking run, and see how far you can get. Like, sky's the limit, but it takes sacrifice and dedication and always thinking forward. And even when, like, I don't know, I'm always thinking about the next big thing and just what I need to do to get that out there. Or, I want to be Metallica in a sense. Like, people say they sold out or whatever, but being in a psychobilly band or even the reggae band Last Real Hero, it's like, I want to be on the radio. I want to have a music video that everyone sees. I want to have that connection with billions of people, and that's going to come. That's going to come, but I have to work for it and not expect it the way I've had other opportunities fall in my lap. And, it's like anything else in life. There's good and bad. And, you just got to weigh the options and contrasts. And honestly, once again, the ball's in my arm. So I'm just trying to fucking go as far as possible.
Absolutely. And it's true with what you said about those opportunities that came that just fell in your lap. Like you got to share the stage with the Mentors, the Henchmen, Fatskin, Stellar Corpses, the Flatfoot 56, Hard Sell Hearts, the Generators, and more. And what are some of your favorite stories for opening up and sharing the stages with all those bands?
Sorry, ask that again.
Oh, you like with all those great memories and those great opportunities, you got to open or start share the stages with the Mentors and the Henchmen, Fatskin, Stellar Corpses, Flatfoot 56, Hardfall Hearts, the Generators, and more. And what are some of your favorite memories of opening and sharing the stages with all those bands?
Oh, some of my favorite memories. Okay. Sorry for making you read all those bands all over again. And
No
that
problem.
list, actually, I need to update that because those are like, bands we played with 3, 4 years ago already. Like, I've got to open for some of my favorite bands like in the last couple of years, and I've been super grateful for all that. But the memories for me and being a music dork like I am is it's surrounding yourself around the people that are successful in the career that you want to go in. I learned so much from all those guys. They all operate differently, and there's no guidelines for any of this. It's kind of just like the Wild West. It's a free for all, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, whatever. But you get to see so many successful artists in their element doing what they do, and the ins, especially being backstage. That's what I fucking love. Like, the ins and outs of it, seeing what they do before to prepare, anything to make me more professional or more successful. I'm looking at other artists. And so my greatest memory is not only, again, to say that I got to open for these bands who've, most of them have had a big inspiration on my life, first of all, but, just to get to see how they are in their element, it just inspires me. I listen to music all day, every day, and I don't ever get burnt out on music, but there's something about going to a live show or even having the privilege of like being once again backstage while your favorite artist is performing, just super inspiring. And it just gets me going. It gets me, once I come back from a show like that, it's like, it's a weird mindset. It's like, fuck, I want to do that again. But it's like, but I don't want to do that again. I want to be that band. I want to be that successful band doing all that stuff. And, so my biggest memories is just picking, some of my favorite artists' mind on certain things, and, them being receptive to it and also being respectful and being professional and not being assholes either. I haven't came across one artist where they're just like, fuck off or leave me alone or whatever. Everyone's been like, cool, yeah, come in and, or whatever, but I'm also not well, I can't say that. I'm gonna say I'm not a fangirl because a lot of times when I'm around my favorite bands, I try to give them like space and try to respect their area and their time. Being on the road's strenuous, and you go from place to place. You don't want someone's talking your ear off about how you bought their album when you're 14 and blah 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 blah. They're gonna hear that all night. So it's like you got to respect their space as well. But I've had a lot of good experiences with a lot of my favorite bands. Vic Ruggiero from the Slackers. We've got to play with the Slackers and Last Real Hero about 3 times now. And when I've seen them before, I've met them, I've talked to Vic or whatever, but during those shows, I kind of just kept my distance. I didn't want to bother him. The last show we played was at Levitt Pavilion with them, and Levitt Pavilion's huge, and it was a free show, and it sucked because it was like raining all day, so we didn't know what the turnout was going to be like or whatever. But we came out. It was the sun came out. We came out to play. People were there. And while I'm playing, I realized Vic's in the crowd, just like taking pictures or whatever. And I'm like, oh, cool. This guy, this guy that I've always listened to is taking pictures of my band while I'm like jamming out. Later on, we're still sitting in the back. I think I'm just sitting in the back. It's me and my stepdaughter. She's eating like Jimmy John's or whatever. And he just like walks through and he comes up straight up to me and he's like, hey, what's that song you played? And he pulls out this video and he's showing me a video of us playing. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Looting and Shooting. He's like, I really like that song. And he just starts telling me, he's critiquing our band in the most positive way ever. And it's like, that's all I ever wanted. And I didn't have to go probe for it. I got it naturally. And those are the experiences I live for when we play with bands.
Dang, that's so awesome. And it's so true what you said about like the rituals and like, being a stand-up comic is like, I have like my own time and like I go up there cold sometimes, but and like being in the green room and with other comics and being backstage is where it's at. It's like it's not the magic that happens. Well, sometimes it's the magic on stage, but it's like what happens like behind the scenes that people don't get to see. That's
Definitely.
magical. And when I was covering concerts, that like the artists are on stage and I'm in the photo pit and the audience is behind me and that energy to transfer is just insane. That's what I lived for. Like when I was like doing it all the time in LA is just good stuff. And man, it's so great to hear about the Slackers. And I think I shared a video of the Slackers with a mashup some of something, either with you or Shannon or something. But man, it's pretty cool that you got to open for the Slackers and share that cool story. And yeah, and you also were each member of your band, the Dead End, were influenced by Dead Boys and New York Dolls to Bud Holly and Misfits, and what are some of your like favorite tunes from those bands, or how did you draw inspiration from those bands?
Oh, geez. Well, and those bands that G particularly brought up. Well, let's start off with Buddy Holly, who is ironically the guy who's like that's why I started playing music and really getting into music was Buddy Holly. And weird backstory with that, my dad being a musician when I was about like 4 or 5, maybe 6, he got hired to go play with the Buddy Holly tribute band in Las Vegas. And we're at home, it's my mom, my dad, me, didn't have any little siblings yet. And my dad's listening to Buddy Holly on the tape deck because it was the early 90s or whatever, late 80s. And according to my parents, this is the first time they ever seen me react to rock and roll or music. Like it was on and I'm dancing like Elvis and I'm sliding across the floor and stuff. And my parents are like, what, what's going on here with this kid? This is what he likes or whatever. So jump about 5, 6 years later, I'm getting into Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson, and I'm like 13 and I'm wearing eyeliner. My hair's, it's dyed like Joey Jordison with the red and shit. My dad's laughing at me. He goes, this is a fad, right? I'm like, no, Dad, I'm goth forever, my life's darkness. And he's like, no, in about like 5 or 6 years, you're going to be listening to Buddy Holly again. No, Dad, whatever, you don't know, and he was right. We're about like 15, 16, and I'm starting to get into oldies again. And that goes into the Misfits. The Misfits and the Ramones were some of the first punk bands that I heard that really had that 50s, 60s element. The Ramones, especially with Phil Spector recording them, you have Ronnie Spector and the Ronettes. Phil Spector did a lot for those girl groups and even some of the guy groups in the 50s and 60s, the doo-wop groups, so you hear a lot of that influence in the Ramones. And the Ramones cover, all that shit too, I don't even know where I'm going with this. But then you got the New York Dolls, who were also a big influence on the Ramones and the Misfits and whatnot. And the New York Dolls, they came out in a like gray area. Like nobody really gives the New York Dolls, at least I feel like not that many people give the New York Dolls, the respect that they should get. You had these guys that came out in the late 60s, early 70s, dressed like females, and it was, horrible. And then come the 80s, you get Motley Crue and, Twisted Sister and all this, and no one gives homage to the first guys who really did it. But Johnny Thunders is a big influence. Guitar player from New York Dolls is a huge influence on my playing, my rock and roll playing. And he's considered the innovator of punk guitar. But in interviews, this guy is like, I hate fucking punk rock. He's like, I am 50s rock and roll. I am Chuck Berry. I am, all the greats, from that time. So it's like, what it really comes down to is all those bands that were named all go full circle. It's all rock and roll when it comes down to it. And some of it's more aggressive, some of it's more raw. But that's what I love about rock and roll is the rawness about it. And, the rebelliousness of it. That's not even a word. How rebellious, that kind of music is. It's just very, very, I don't know. I just like rebellious shit. I guess it's cool, and that's kind of why I got into psychobilly, because it was 50s rebellion, but it's more punked up. It has this punk rock influence that gives it more balls. It's not so cheesy like the 50s was. Back in the 50s, it was rebellious. Now it's just kind of hokey, and now there's, a subgenre where it has that like that traditionalism of like 50s rock and roll, but it's still snotty and in your face. And I'm just attracted to that snotty in your face kind of shit. Anything that has shock value, I'm definitely about. And I've tamed it down a lot, but I would always go to the extreme with shock value. So I'm always attracted to that kind of stuff, even if it's like Gigi Allen or the Mentors, it's all shock. And I'm pretty sure the mic picked up my burp right now.
Speaking of shock, I listened to your new track called Raw Dog, and
Oh, thank you.
I loved it. Like, I hope you play that at the festival, because my alter ego stand up is dirty. And what was the writing process for Raw Dog?
Raw Dog kind of it came. That's the best thing is like some of my favorite songs. Raw Dog is one of my favorite songs anyway. But some of my favorite songs are those songs that where I'm just fucking around and it just comes to me. I'm not trying to do anything, So I was sitting there with my acoustic and I came up with that first, lead guitar line, and I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. And then I just kind of just kept rolling with it. It kind of gave me that first little guitar lick really reminds me of a band I like called Three Bad Jacks. But the rest of the song actually gives me like a Cramps / Tommy James and the Shondells vibe. I once again love 50s and 60s stuff, and Tommy James and Shondells is like a big inspiration of mine. They have everything from Crystal Blue Persuasion to Moni Moni to what I feel like I kind of ripped off was Hanky Panky. My baby does the hanky dun 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 dun. It's rock and roll goes in full circles, and I feel like there's inspiration there. Oh, give me one sec here. There's a lot of inspiration from those artists back then, but to me it was just kind of like it naturally just kind of just fell into place, and I didn't know how it was going to come out. That song's actually very weird. It doesn't have a chorus in it. It has 3 verses. So it's a unique song, and before we even recorded it, we were playing it live and we decided to record it like 2 years ago. We just are releasing it now just to get some momentum going for some shows that we have coming up. And for the fact that everyone keeps asking about this song, like everyone loves this song for some reason. It's the dirtiest, like cheesiest song ever. But it works, and it gives me a good excuse for a couple guitar solos as well.
Absolutely, indeed.
Sorry about.
Oh, you're fine. No worries.
Holding me right
the
now.
Notifications kick in and all that good stuff. I totally get it. Awesome. And man, when you talked about the Misfits, I got to see them live one time at the Gibson Amphitheater, and it was Halloween night. I dressed up just like this, and it was Sam Hain, Danzig, and the Misfits all in one bill, and I was like, I didn't think it would ever happen that way. So Carlos is stuck, and so I'll message Carlos and make sure that so he can log in and log in back out, and that'll help him out big time. Let's see here. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the interview with Carlos. We got so much going from his past to his present, and just absolutely incredible on the music journey that he's taken. And let's see here. Oh, That should he logged out, so he got the message. Good stuff. So, but yeah, um, on the very bottom of this video is the Dead End and Last Real Heroes information from Bandcamp to Facebook, Instagram, Reverb Nation, their website, their YouTube channel. Be sure to buy music from them off Bandcamp if you don't see them at a live show. Like both their pages, The Dead End and Last Real Hero. Follow them on Instagram on below and click on the links. They'll just take you straight to them. Listen to their tunes on Reverb Nation and Spotify. Visit their website to find out more information and subscribe to their YouTube channels where you can listen to Raw Dog. And Carlos is back, and they burned some time.
Sorry.
You're totally fine. Indeed, I just told him to look in the description box below to like and subscribe and listen to your tunes and all that stuff and all
Thank
that.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. And it's like the quickest way, just putting as hyperlinks on the bottom. So let's see here. Um, I was just on your website, and how did you sign to Batcave Records?
Batcave Records is kind of a cool story. The owners of Batcave Records are both in bands. Renee De La Muerte from The Brains and Dusty Grave from Stellar Corpses. They started a record label about 2016, 2017. I, at that time, was recording our first album. So, I did everything I needed to do to get these guys to see it. So the first time the Brains came to Colorado, which they're actually based out of Canada, but Renee had moved to California. So their first U.S. tour, we saw the Brains. It was one of those things that just happened easy again. We went to go see the Brains. They were opening for Avatar. I think we were at like the Summit maybe in Denver. And no one was there for the Brains except for me and a few buddies. We're all into psychobilly, and our favorite, one of our favorite psychobilly bands who never came was finally coming. So we had to go see it. And I brought a CD. I had a CD in my jacket, and Renee De La Muerte, as soon as they finished their set, he's like, "Hey, don't be shy. Come talk to us. We'll be at the merch booth." And then he said, the magic words, "If anyone smokes pot," and I was like, "Oh shit." Go to the merch booth right away. I was like, "Hey, Renee, you want to go smoke one, buddy?" He's like, "Let's go to the backstage." I was like, "Oh shit, okay." We go backstage and we're smoking, and me and this guy start talking about the Stray Cats and all the rockabilly stuff that we like and psychobilly, and just becoming friends. We're not even talking about record labels or anything. And by the end of that conversation, like 2 hours later, my buddy's like, "Carlos is in a band," and he's like, "Oh, I have a record label." I was like, "Dude, I have a CD." Like, gave him the CD. Didn't expect anything. Like 2 days later, they're on tour. He's listening to it in the bus, like religiously. Apparently, said he liked what we were doing, wants to work with us. And then as far as Dusty goes, I already knew him from playing with Stellar Corpses previously with Dead End Stompers and the Dead End. So he kind of knew who I was and what we sounded like. And we recorded some stuff and sent it to them, and they liked it. We decided we probably could have been on the record label sooner, but they did this contest, and we're like, "Oh yeah, we'll do the contest." And then we totally didn't win the contest. But then we were working on our album, and Renee saw that we posted some stuff on social media. He goes, "Hey, send me that when you're done. Let me mix and master it for you." So we let him mix and master it, and he released it for us on the label. So like I said, it's just one of those things. I probably went to meet up with Renee De La Muerte probably about 3 times before we were actually signed, and every time that I went, I brought him a T-shirt or a new CD or some stickers or sunglasses or whatever. And so, he became my buddy, and he dug what we were doing. And their whole objective of the Batcave label is to kind of put American psychobilly on the map. Psychobilly is still pretty underground in America compared to Europe, where it in the 80s was the heyday, and it has just evolved and gotten bigger and bigger every year. Those festivals in Europe are outrageous, and then you go to like a rockabilly psychobilly festival here, and there's people, but it's not like how it is in Europe. So so that record label believes in what we're doing, and it's cool. It's nice to have some of your idols once again tip their hat to you because you're doing a good job, and it's like, I'm only doing a good job because they're doing what they're doing. So it all once again goes in full circle.
Absolutely. And shout out to Renee and being in, like one of the only few in the audience and with the weed in the backstage and it reminds me of the first time that I interviewed Be Real from Cypress Hill. It was like my very first
Oh shit.
professional interview, and backstage on the coffee table was nothing but marijuana. It was just so potent. I'm like, this is I don't think I can get through this interview.
That's awesome, dude. I actually got to meet Be Real at the Rainbow back in like 2009 or some shit like that. Like, most weirdest night because I'm with Dave Mansfield and the LAMFs, and we go play at the Whiskey a Go Go. And I think like the night before we go to the Rainbow, they're like Lemmy's bar. Lemmy was actually there, but we didn't get to meet him or anything. But it's just a surreal night, dude. Like, I'm there drinking, I'm buzzed, and I'm looking around, and I realize, well, that guy's from Crazy Town. There's Be Real, and there's Danny B. Harvey. Like, I don't know, my mind was just blown. That weekend was amazing. And then the next night we played at the Whiskey a Go Go we hung out with Steven Adler and like Daisy De La Hoya and shit like that. And then like the very next night, like we stood up all night, got plane back to Colorado, and then I was working at the drive-in again that Sunday, and like Sweet Child of Mine's playing, and I'm like, nobody here would fucking believe me if I told them the shit I just did this weekend, you know. And I was like, I was just hanging out with that drummer from that band, but nobody fucking knows. Like, I don't know, it was cool, good experiences, you know. It's shit like that. It's like I'm so privileged to do the shit that I've gotten to do. Like, I'm pretty content, you know. I want to do more, but if this was the end of my career, I'd be like, it was a good fucking run.
Absolutely, I would have totally believed it because like like when you said the rainbow, it took me to Pueblo's Rainbow when it opened. I was like,
Hi. Yeah, I got you.
and then I was like, oh yeah, there's the other Rainbow, which is like my favorite restaurant in LA ever. Like that's like so cool because like there's a Lemmy statue there, and like when I lived out there during Thanksgiving, it would have Thanksgiving meals, and I would go there just like all you can eat for like a certain amount of money for like Thanksgiving, and I'm like, this is where rock stars go when they can't go home, and it's just so gnarly. And like I remember going there and having my LA Weekly in hand, and for me to sit down and have lunch, I would circle the bands that I wanted to see because they had like the concert section in there, and I would just mark my calendars, send out my press credential request, and I would like, get them every single time. I'm like, this is so
that's
cool, like shooting fish in a barrel, you know. And
that's
then
badass.
yeah, I dressed up like this on my birthday and went on a parade on Hollywood Boulevard, like with the other superheroes and stuff. And there's a video of it too. And but I would go there because like they would always remember my drink. I don't drink alcohol, and like my drink would be the Arnold Palmer, and they're like, Arnold Palmer, sir. I'm like, absolutely. And he goes, and I'd get their pizza was always big, and their steak and lobster. I've never had it, but it's like supposedly the best in LA. But I would always see like I know Ron Jeremy's in trouble at the moment, but I'd always see him at the Rainbow.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Oh
That's the
man.
cool thing. I miss LA. That's the cool thing. You would just see so many people, and it was just the norm, you know.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, like when you're from small town Pueblo or whatever, like it's not a huge deal to me because I've seen people or whatever, but it's just like it is exciting. You're like, wow, I'm in the mecca of like all this cool shit going on. It's like LA is such a different feel. I
Absolutely.
miss it. It's been a while. It's been since like 2019 since I think Dead
Yeah.
End we went to California there.
Yeah. My last time was there like 2014, and so that was when all the venues were still open. Like House of Blues was still there.
Oh yeah.
The Key Club was still there, and like the Viper Room is soon to go away. They're gonna build something on top of it, so I'm bummed. And the Roxy's still there, and the Rainbow and the Whiskey, of course. And like the Whiskey, like my favorite memory from there was like seeing the Rockstar Energy Drink Mayhem press conference, and they shut
Uh-huh.
down like half of the Sunset Strip, and the Hell's Angels escorted like Rob Zombie and Five Finger Death Punch.
Oh shit.
It was nuts, and I got to interview Five Finger Death Punch on stage, dressed up as like all Wu Tang out at this metal show and press conference, and like Chris Kale was like, they were making so much noise in the or in the hallway. He was like, "Hey, shut up, Wu Tang is talking," and I put that at the very end. It's just I
That's
like they do
badass,
that,
dude.
dude. And people give him crap about their music, but like music is subjective, just like stand up is. It's like you're not gonna love everything, but once you like, but they have a huge following, and if as long as they have fans that turn into family, you're good. You know.
For sure, yeah. Definitely.
Yep.
that's cool that you've got to experience a lot of that kind of stuff, just doing what you love doing and then being yourself on top of it. Like you said, you're all wooed out. That's you to the T. So don't ever change that, of course. Always be you. And I know
Absolutely. I
you
won't
and I know you will, but yeah.
Indeed. When I moved out there and pursued my dreams, like my friends were like, stick to your guns, don't change at all, wear your concert shirts and your jeans always. And then when you come back to Pueblo, you won't have sold out or anything like that. You're gonna be just so. And I'm glad that I listened to those folks, and they're like, don't forget us about us little people. I never did. So. And that's why I'm not out there anymore. And I'm glad I'm not out there anymore. It's just there were some good things and there were some bad things, but I hung on to the
Definitely.
good things, and that's life.
Definitely. You got it, definitely. Yeah, there's always it's that yin and yang. There's always the bad and there's always the good, and you got to embrace the good. And shit, when the bad happens, you got to acknowledge it because it's going to keep you from not doing it ever again. But yeah, dude, that's an experience though, and I'm glad that you got to go do that kind of stuff. And I'm glad we're here talking today. This is fucking awesome. I was having issues with the phone earlier, and I was starting to flip out. I was like, "Fuck!" I like really wanted to do this. I'm glad it panned out. So.
I'm glad it panned out too, and I'm so glad you got to catch up and all that good stuff. And I wish you many successes on the new single Raw Dog. I love every single word of it, and it's like
Thank you.
it's like my style because I love those dirty lyrics and like my stand up is really dirty, but I don't say any curse words, so that's like my trade off. And so like when you mentioned Marilyn Manson earlier, there's a set my joke of mine that I make references to all his songs, but make it dirty. And it's like my very first time. Did you ever go to Deja Vu in Colorado Springs?
I once, yeah, when I was like 18.
Yep, same here. My very first lap dance was from a lady that looked exactly like Marilyn Manson,
Oh,
and
that's hot.
I took all of like his song references and described her as my personal Jesus. And I know that's like his cover song, but and like Sweet Dreams, I worked that in there, and Beautiful People and Don't Tell and everything like that. It's just like the way I weaved it, and like people were like, "Oh man, this is crazy how he took all those references and puns and just worked it all in." I'll send you the link. You're gonna be like, holy shit, you said that in front of like a full like a sold out show, and like yeah, I wasn't afraid to go there. So
Dude, I can't wait to see that. That's badass. Yeah, send me that. I want to see that. I'll appreciate it.
absolutely, it was like when I went on tour when I referenced Judas Priest and we talked Iron Maiden and the Beatles all in one joke too. So I think you'll dig that. So
Hell
it's all
yeah.
music related because of all the LA days, I think. So
I dig it,
and
my man.
and the album's called Sex, Jokes, and Rock and Roll, and it's on that lanyard that I gave you way back
Oh,
when, so you can download it if you still have it. If not, I'll give you another one, and it's like
oh,
30 minutes of dirty material, so no curse
I,
words.
I I remember the name of that album, and I actually do have that lanyard too. So yeah.
Fantastic. Hopefully you love it. So all that I record that album in a pool hall, believe it or not. So
Really? Fuck yeah, dude. That's some
it,
good shit right there.
heck yeah, dude! In South Daytona, and like the hidden track, if you wait for it, it took place in this very small back room in Jacksonville at Dahlia's, and hopefully you dig that album. I'm supposed to release another one, and you were talking about mixing and mastering with Renee. Um, Matt Herrera from Last Week's Audio mixed and mastered my that album, and he's gonna mix and master this current album.
Fuck yeah. Actually, speaking of Matt, our next album that we're doing is actually gonna be recording with him. So
Wow,
we're
that's
gonna
so
record with
awesome.
him. And the three singles prior to the album that came out on Batcave, we actually did with Matt too. Me and Matt go back, Beast of Milwaukee, or not. Ooh, geez, I fucked that up. I said Beast of Milwaukee. Eeks. Can we edit this? I don't know why I said that, but
Bluebird. It's okay.
we we've played with Matt for fucking years, dude. And honestly, I my first time I remember him, like we would see him at shows. My first interactions with him was when he worked at Axe Haven. We were total metal kids, and we'd go. We didn't have Guitar Center or anything. We would go there and pick his brain and go play probably some shitty riffs that like he was tired of hearing it all the time. But that's really when I first remembered meeting him and then playing shows with him, and him, like I said, all the other bands just always being super cool to us and being super good. Like at that time, being a young kid trying to start a band and stuff, you get other kids who are, just mildly older than you, but it's adolescence, there's jealousy and stuff like that. And he was never like that with us. He was always super, super, super cool to us. So him and Cheese Mo and all those guys, they were all fucking just super down to earth and, totally give us inspiration to, do what we're doing. And I look forward to recording with Matt here again soon, because honestly, like that was one of those things as far as like clicking, like we've tried a few different studios and different friends and stuff like that, but when we record with him, it's always so smooth and just the product's just so amazing at the end that we were fools not to do it sooner again, honestly.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and I love that about Pueblo's music scene. It's like it's just like no ego, and the people that I do book have no ego, and they all work well together, and no matter their genre, and that's what I love about it. And shout out to Matt and his old bands like Sons of Man and Bridges and all that good stuff, and never having an ego, and how willing to help everyone out, and how professional he is, and how professional you are, and all that good stuff. And it's just so dope that we have all that in Pueblo, and nobody knows that the people that are in the know. And
Definitely, definitely.
yeah,
And I think all scenes should be support. My philosophy is everyone can play guitar, but not one person has the same influences. So you don't judge canvas painters the same way. You don't say, one canvas painter needs to be like the next. It's nothing like that. So there's no competition. Everyone should just be good with being themselves, being the best themselves possible, and we all need to just support and boost each other for that, because there's no other band like the Dead End. There's no other band like Sonic Vomit. There's a lot of good bands like you said here, and the thing is you can't compare them. You just gotta just embrace everyone for their own unique individuality, and and just create the scene, make it bigger, bring more bands in, try to inspire young kids the way we were inspired to start a band. Kids don't start bands these days, or maybe they are now, but about like 10 years ago, it's like everyone wanted to be a DJ, and you couldn't go down to Phil's and see bands almost every night. Like when I was in high school, it was, so it's like, that's my goal, is just to boost everyone who's part of it, because we're all passionate about the same thing. There's no need to hate. There's no need to hate anyone in any scene. And I'm sure that goes the same with comedy or, whatever. There's so many different styles. Why hate on someone? And you may not, and everything may not be your cup of tea. There's some bands here that I don't particularly listen to them, but I'll still go support them. I'll show them that I care, because they're doing what they like to do. And even if you're the shittiest band ever, it takes some fucking balls to get up in front of people and do something, and anyone could be a critic as well. And I guess when it comes to criticism, I try not to let it weigh heavy on me, because I know what I've done, and I'm not gloating or saying that I've done all this shit, but the truth is like, I know what I've put into it. So I'm not going to let someone knock me down when I've been working so hard towards something. If a person has a problem, it's usually their own personal problem and not, the situation or whatever. So I just let that stuff roll off my back. You just got to appease yourself. And for me personally, when it comes to anything music related that I'm involved in, number one, I do it for myself, and if you like it, and that's cool. And if you don't like it, then cool, go find something that you're into, but it's all about, supporting each other and boosting each other. And I think we have an amazing scene here in town. We have the Bomb Shelter right now, and that's taken the spot of some of our venues. We don't have the Rainbow, we don't have Phil's, the Green Light's not all ages. The coffee shop's cool, but it's small, and unless it's summer, summer works really well. But so it's like we do what we can while we can, and we got to help each other out as much as we can and root for each other, because it's a short life. It's a busy world out there, and you never know when the next fucking Van Halen's gonna come out of Colorado or whatever, and I don't want to be that guy to be like, oh, I used to tell that band they sucked all the time, and now look at them, they're doing fucking great. It's like, no, I'd rather be the guy to be like, yeah, I remember when that band was starting off, and I had to help them with some sound equipment, or I did this or whatever. It's like that's how it should be.
Absolutely, and it's so true what you said about Phil's and the rainbow and stuff, and like my favorite memory of like one of my other favorite memories of you was at the Grind House and you played inside and you packed that place out at the fest. It was so the most beautiful sight I've ever seen. And like one of the great memories. Like, gosh, it was like 2 or 3 years ago. I don't even know, but it was just gnarly to see that. It was great, and
I,
yeah,
I love that. I think it was Xander Alexander. He actually made a video that one year, and if I find it, I'll shoot you, the little link. And it was like coverage of the whole show. Like, I think it was like the 3 days of the shows or whatever, but he only did like the first 2 days, and the second day was the day that we did that. And yeah, like, I don't know, when I play, I don't ever realize how many people are hanging out or having fun until I see like pictures or videos. And that video particularly, I'm like, wow, like kids were there and they were like having it. Like, I don't know. It's always cool. One of the last times we played at the Grind House, it was the same. It was packed, and all these like kids that I don't know, they're like high school kids or just freshly out of high school or whatever. They were all there, and they were just like one of the first shows after COVID. They were not being shy with having a good time and dancing and moving around, and it's always a beautiful sight. I love that. That's why I love going to shows. You just get moved by it, and when you're playing or performing, even when you're doing comedy, it's like the crowd has an energy, and if you could feed off that energy and it just goes back and forth, it just makes the show so much better for everyone.
indeed. That's why I love having it at the Grind House. And like when you mentioned like you want to be the inspiration for the next generation and for like people that are like in high school or trying to find their voice in music and to see all these bands for free and be like, hey, here's my CD that I'm working on, and maybe you can be the next Batcave Records for that kid, or and pass it along, and you never know about Pueblo. I mean, there's so much amazing musical talent, and to be on like one of the grandest stages of them all is like the WrestleMania of Pueblo, and so
Yes, I
just
like that.
gnarly. Indeed. Oh man, and it's like there's other festivals in Pueblo, but there's only one Thresh or two Thresh Fest now, and it's just Daytona's more music heavy or comedy heavy, and Pueblo's more music heavy, and I like to keep that balance, So I made
That's
more
cool. Yeah, totally.
comedy friends out here, so um, but yeah, man, I'm like is there other would anything else you'd like to share on while we're on here, Carlos?
Geez, just I want to thank everyone who's supported me in the bands that I've been in and the music scene, and I want to thank you. You've always believed in us and always has helped us out as much as you can, and always invited us back for Sureth Fest, which is great. And I really don't know what else. I'm kind of lost right now.
And
Just
one
give
of
me a
these
topic. I was gonna say, just give me a topic and I'll talk for like 20 minutes. I'm just kidding.
yeah. And one of these days, I gotta bring your dad's band onto the bill. Maybe next year, because like we're all full on this one, and he can play some originals and with his band and all that good stuff too. And
Definitely,
I
yeah,
would love that. So that'd be gnarly to bring the history of way back when to like now. It's dope.
that's fucking badass. Yeah, just let me know. We'll make something happen.
That'd be gnarly, dude. Well, Carlos, thank you so much for being my guest on the Blue Tree Chronicles, and I can't wait to see you in July, and I can't wait to bring this back to the Grind House, and I'll probably promote this closer to July, so that way it'll be there. But you're more than welcome to share it now, and
Definitely,
all that
definitely.
good stuff. And so we can draw some all that good stuff to Pueblo and see the great talent that is Pueblo. And I love coming back. That's like one of the things I look forward to the most is coming back home.
Definitely, definitely. It is home, and even for me, anytime I leave or try to get out of here, hey, guess what? This is home. So you got to embrace it once again, and we love when you come back and visit every time you do. So
And I love seeing
can't
you
wait.
all and watching you just play. That's like my my Christmas in July because my birthday's in December. So it's like I'm just gonna move it to July. So
There you go. Well, we're gonna go all out this year. Arnold Palmer's all around.
heck yeah, dude! I am. We will toast to that for sure. And for everyone at home, please like, comment, share, subscribe, on everything that's on the description box below. And shout out to the Grindhouse and the Trinidad Irish Pub, and shout out to the Dead End. We didn't get to touch much on Last Real Hero, so before we go, touch base on Last Real Hero.
Okay, so Last Real Hero is my other project. It consists of some guys that are in some bands here in Pueblo, including Shannon Sinclair, who's in Mida Henry, and well, he used to do a bunch of other stuff back in the day too. We have Dan Wiley, who was in the Insecurities. We have Jeff Anderson, who was in the Fanatics back in the day. So if you guys know who the Fanatics are, that's a big deal right there. And we have Jungle Jim Chandler on drums. Jim has had a pretty good career, played with some of my favorite bands, and he's he was born and raised here, lives up in Denver now. Once again, pretty great chemistry. We're somewhat of a ska punk band, or what we call outlaw reggae. We have a very heavy spaghetti western theme to our band and to our music. We just released our second album, Back to the Sun, that just came out a couple months ago. You can find that YouTube, whatever. Last Real Hero. It's REEL, like film reel. Um, we're also on Facebook, Last Real Hero, Instagram, Last Real Hero. I think we're going to work on some new music videos. We have a tour coming up here in June. We're going to play a Roots Reggae Festival in Topeka, so we're going to tour for that. I think we're going to hit just a few states, going and coming, just so it's not just straight to Topeka and back. And yeah, check us out if you're into reggae, ska. We've played with the Slackers and the Toasters. Actually, I think we're playing with the Toasters again during that little tour in June here at the Black Sheep. So yeah, we have quite a bit of stuff going on this summer, almost a little more than what the Dead End has going on, which is kind of cool because it helps the Dead End give us some time to prepare to get the next album out and recorded and whatnot, and gives me time to do stuff with this band, which is kind of rare. Dan and Shannon are both teachers, so it's like we could only really do stuff when they're not doing school stuff. So it's been good. It's been a very good journey. We played some shows in March in New Mexico and Arizona, and it was a blast. It's a different experience once again going out with other people. I'm used to going out with Pickle and LJ all the time, and this it's like it's one of those things. Jim is a guy that I look up to, who's played in some big bands and done some good music stuff, and so is Jeff. And the other guys are professional. They went to school for musicians, so it's like I'm always like trying to see what good habits I could pick up from any of those guys being on tour, and whatever could fine tune my craft and make me better like them. So yeah, Last Real Hero. Check them out. The Dead End, check us out too, and we're always playing shows.
So you heard the man. Definitely check them out while they're in your town, and I can't wait to see you in July. And we're gonna party for a couple days and all that good stuff. And Carlos, thank you so much for being my guest on the We Manchu Chronicles. Truly means the world to me, and I'm glad to get to reconnect until it's like our spring break, and then we can go into our summer vacation and party. And yeah, man. Um, thank you so much. And I think we just talked about your final words before the Last Real Hero plug, and so give it for Carlos, the Dead End, Last Real Hero, and his musical journey. And make sure you see him at Thrust and wherever they stop with his other band, Last Real Hero. I'm the Wu Man Tree. Check leaving uh, here in a little bit. Gonna go do a mic in Melbourne, Florida, and you be well, Carlos. I'll send you this link as soon as I publish it onto the website and all that good stuff.
Amazing. I appreciate you, dude. It's great to reconnect, and thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Awesome. I really enjoyed it too. And for everyone else, be well, take care of each other, and we'll see you in the next episode.